Have you ever wanted to start a podcast and just didn't know where to go to get your journey started? Well, look no further than Anchor Podcasting. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast, and it gives you everything you need for free in one spot, which you can use right from your computer or a mobile device if you need to record on the go. Creation tools allow you to edit and record your podcast to make it sound the best possible way for your audience and listeners. And they'll also distribute your podcast for you, so you don't have to go through the hassle of talking to different platforms in order to get your podcast through to everybody you wish. This includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. You can easily make money through Anchor Podcasting, and it doesn't require minimum listenership. So once you get started and set up, money can flow in from all directions. So if you're ready to get started, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.fm to get your ball rolling and start your podcast journey. All right, guys, second part of the Double Trouble Breakdown featuring Dustin the Diamond Poirier. We just went over his fight against Justin Gaethje, and now we're going to cover his rematch against Eddie Alvarez, which took place on July 28th, 2018. Now, the first fight against Eddie Alvarez took place at UFC 211, and it was basically Poirier just putting it on him, landing a counter straight left hand off of that shoulder roll on the right side, and then just pouring on the pressure. Alvarez was able to weather the storm, hurt Poirier a little bit. Then it was an illegal knee on the ground that stopped the fight and caused it to be a no contest. So this rematch meant a lot to Poirier. He wanted to get that fight back and definitely put a stamp on how much better of a fighter he is than Eddie Alvarez. And you know what? He did it in this fight. He really looked great in this fight. Had a little bit of trouble with the wrestling of Eddie Alvarez, but was able to weather the storm and come back. So let's start this off. So Alvarez tried to take Poirier down, but Poirier countered with a guillotine both times that Alvarez shot in. Right as the second Alvarez's head went on the outside to shoot that double leg takedown, Poirier locked it up and jumped guard against the fence. His back was to the fence and tried to get that guillotine. One time, he almost got it. Alvarez got out of it. Second time, Poirier grabbed that guillotine. Alvarez was able to get out of it and put him up against the fence in the second round and kind of get like a mount up against the fence and was landing some good shots. Accidentally landed a 12-6 elbow, which caused a stand-up, and that's where it all went bad for Eddie Alvarez. So let's see he did the guillotine, I think, more to show Eddie Alvarez that he's not scared to throw himself into the fire, which we already knew because Dustin Poirier is a dog. We already knew that he didn't care, but he did this to say, okay, you want to shoot on me? You want to take me down? It's not going to be easy, but if you do, I'm snatching your neck and I'm taking it home. And Poirier landed really good combinations right off the bat in that first round. Again, just pop, 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 pop. Just 4 or 5 punch combinations go into the body. And one thing he used that really hurt Eddie is he landed a left knee right up the middle to the solar plexus of Eddie Alvarez. And he followed it up with a barrage of punches. But the knee took the wind out of Eddie. And then he landed just multiple straight left hands and right hooks. Just pop, 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 up the middle, right uppercut, right hook. And Alvarez tried to take him down to regain his composure, but Poirier framed off with his left forearm, and then went back to work. So Alvarez shot, he stuffed it, and he pushed off with which is going to be his back leg because he's in southpaw. He pushed off almost like with the crook of his forearm, like the side of it, almost if you throw an elbow, but turn the elbow down and like kind of like a sidearm. And he pushed off on the neck and head of Eddie Alvarez to gain his distance back, and he landed punches right off of that frame. So frame off, and then boom, just right hook, right uppercut, right hook, straight left, pop, 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 pop. And one thing that really worked for him in this fight, and I talked about it in the last part again about the Justin Gaethje fight, is but when he first moved up to lightweight and even at featherweight, he would kind of crowd his punches. He'd get super close to you and land barrages of punches, but it didn't have enough extension on them to hurt you. Or he would hurt you, but it just didn't really have full extension. But in this fight, he learned to, kind of take in the fight and just land combos, fasting and powerful, but look at how much distance he had so he could get off the punches more effectively. And like I said, when I went back to work, Alvarez tried to land some punches as he was slipping against the fence. He did this in the first fight against Poirier as well. Poirier would try to throw that straight left. He'd hurt Alvarez. Alvarez would roll and throw an overhand right. Roll to the right, throw overhand left. Roll to the left, throw overhand right. But when Eddie did this, Poirier was able to back up and like kind of take in the pressure of Eddie Alvarez, or take in, the madness. So he'd roll, back up, see what Eddie was doing, counter with a straight left, roll up or roll underneath, counter with a right hook. And he did this a lot. And then in the second round, Poirier got taken down. This was off the guillotine that I talked about earlier. And this is where Eddie landed that elbow to the side of the 12-6 elbow against the fence and it caused the stand-up. And the stand-up is where Poirier went back to work. He used almost the same thing he did in the first fight, block it and straight left hand. Boom, shoulder roll, bam, straight left. Then he landed that knee right up the middle to the body, which hurt Eddie. And then he went to work with those combos. And he framed off with the right hand against the fence. This is what I was just talking about, where Eddie threw those looping right hand, looping left hand, looping right hand. He framed off with that right hand and threw an elbow right off that. So he framed, boom, throw the elbow off the same side. And it hit Eddie right in the temple. And this just shows how much more Poirier is thinking in there. He's a thinking man's fighter. He's learned to take in the situation and learn the best way to finish it. And this showed it. He didn't just throw barrages of punches. Everything was calculated. And then he saw that Eddie was he was hurt and he wanted to do something different. So he hit him with that elbow against the temple and dropped him. And he got the second round TKO. And he finally avenged that weird fight, no contest to Eddie Alvarez, and looked great doing it. So this was a great win for Poirier. Now we go to his last fight. The one he just had April 13th, 2019, UFC 236 for the interim lightweight championship of the world. We had the reigning defending featherweight champion who competes this Saturday against Frankie Edgar, Max Blessed Holloway, up against Dustin Poirier. And it's the second time they fought. The first time they fought was back when Dustin was at featherweight at 145 pounds, and Dustin ended up getting the win with a mounted triangle armbar and submitting Max Holloway. And I think a lot of people in this fight were counting out Dustin Poirier. They thought that Holloway just made so many improvements that Poirier wasn't going to be able to deal with the pressure and the footwork. And, man, he shut everybody up and proved them wrong by basically whitewashing. He didn't win every round, but probably 3 rounds to 2. I think he got a 49-46 unanimous decision, so 4 rounds to 1. But I scored it 3 rounds to 2 for Dustin the Diamond Poirier. So let's start this off with the first round. Well, first things first, Poirier switched stances way more in this fight than we've seen in any of his previous fights. He was constantly switching from southpaw to orthodox, and usually he would switch off of the straight left hand. So he'd be in southpaw, throw the straight left, step through into orthodox so he could counter with that overhand right and hurt Holloway. And one of the first combos he used was a straight left to the body, a left hook up top, which switched him to orthodox from southpaw stance, which is he went from right foot in front to left foot in front, and then he landed the right leg kick. So right out of the gate, he was switching stances. It was boom left up top, right leg kick. And this kind of backed up Holloway, and he was like, all right, I guess you're going to switch stances on me. This shows his improvement, like I said, by being able to switch stances mid-combination and so fluidly, kind of like what Max Holloway did. And I think that was part of the plan for Dustin Poirier was, okay, Holloway switches stances a lot, so I'm going to switch stances with him just to throw him off because he's used to fighting people who stay in one stance the whole entire time. But by switching stances, I think he threw off Holloway's game a little bit. Power was a huge difference in this matchup, obviously. And it's not just having the power. And a lot of people say, oh, it was the power difference. Oh, he's too strong for him. He hit too hard. No, it's not just Dustin's power. It's Dustin's ability to land the power. You could have a gift and not be able to deliver it. He's able to have the power and deliver it in a way that's going to hurt you effectively. And that's what makes Dustin so dangerous. The straight left was a big problem for Holloway in this fight, and the overhand lefts. every time Dustin landed a power shot on Holloway, it hurt him. You could see it rock him, back him up. And just you could see Holloway just was like, oh, my God. Like, the power was insane. But he took all the damage and did not get finished. So credit to Max Holloway for taking that damage and coming back to win the third or fourth round, I believe. Let's see. He would use the left hand as a feeder to switch stance into orthodox. So he would like throw out that straight left to make you think he was going to put power in it, and then switch stances to orthodox and throw the overhand right on Holloway. And this worked multiple times in the fight. That was probably the best combination he landed against Holloway, and it worked almost every single time. Let's see. Holloway did hurt Poirier and then went on the prowl to try to finish him. This was in the first round. He countered with a check left hook, which kind of caught Poirier. It could have been a knockoff balance, but I think he dropped him, hit him behind the ear, and then just landed those barrages of punches, the ones and twos, uppercuts, left hooks that we always see Holloway do. It's death by accumulation for Max Holloway. Let's see. Poirier threw a straight left out and then switched stances to orthodox to land the power overhand right, which is what I just said. He switched stances a lot more in this fight than we've ever seen before, which shows his evolution as a fighter. He went on the attack, flurrying with punches, and this is where just the right hooks and left uppercuts just over and over. Bah, bah, bah. Right hook, left hook, right hook. And, but he, like I said, he's smarter now. He's way more patient now. Even though he's not patient, he's way more calculated in his approach and more defensively minded. And one of the things Daya Davis said in an interview after the Holloway and Poirier fight was Dustin always had the ability to land the shots or the ability to be a great fighter. He already had the power. It was just cleaning up the basics. The basics and the bread and butter are what win you the fights. Of course, you can win with crazy spinning techniques and rolling thunder, roundhouse kicks and everything like that, but it's the basics that win you the fights and the basics that set up the shots to end fights. And that's what Daya Davis said. It was just cleaning up and tuning up his basics and his defensive boxing, which like the head movement, the rolling, and the footwork, which we've seen since he's been working with Daya Davis. Poirier was more composed in the firefights than Holloway. I think he took a second to gain his distance from Holloway to land the shots more effectively. He'd get really close and land shots, then he'd back away for a second and then come back in with his combinations. He wasn't just super close to you winging punches. He would land like a double jab, right hook, left straight, roll under, and then kind of back up for a second, boom, straight left, right hook. It was just always on the defensive mind, but also being offensive at the same time. Let's see. Holloway tried to counter Poirier with a check left hook. This was up against the fence, I believe. But Poirier countered the counter with his right hook as Holloway tried to exit. So Holloway tried to, he cuts the angle. He moves to his left with the left hook and then usually throws a straight right hand to the body or a straight right hand up top to the head. That's one of his best things is a 3-2 and a 1-2, which is a hook cross and a jab cross. So he threw the left hook and angled off, but Poirier read that left hook and countered with a right hook over the top and grazed Holloway right on the jaw and really hurt him. This is where he stumbled and actually almost fell down completely, and then Poirier landed those barrage of punches against the fence. Again, I said Poirier works on the inside very well, and it's usually the same combo. He'll grab the single collar clinch, and he'll throw the right uppercut to a right hook or a left uppercut to a left hook. That's again attacking the guard. Like I said, you're breaking the walls down in the guard. Right up the middle. Okay, you're going to cover up. Now the side of your head's open. Boom, right to the side. So it's breaking the walls down in the guard, just up the middle, around the side, up the middle, around the side. Let's see. What else do we got? When Holloway would gain his composure and try to freeze Poirier with just the accumulation of shots, Poirier would get in close and then, like I said, landing the right hook, right uppercut combo and the straight left hands. And he used his jab a lot more in this fight and the Justin Gaethje fight than we've ever seen him use before. Set up everything with that right jab. Just flicked it out, countered with the straight left. Flicked it out, jab, right hook, right uppercut, multiple right hooks. He'll do this thing where he did it against Gaethje. If you see the finish against Justin Gaethje, he landed 1, 2, 3 right hooks right to the head to kind of freeze you, and then he'll throw the straight left. It's to move you towards his power, but also to freeze you from being able to move. Let's see. He always backed up with the same defense we talked about in the first part, which is the shoulder roll to the helmet guard, but he more just sticks his elbow out than his shoulder roll to keep the distance, and then helmet guard on the left side. And he was constantly countering the jab of Holloway with the right hook. Does this in almost every single one of his fights. Parry the jab, come over with the right hook. Or when they throw the jab, slip it and come over with the right hook to counter. Perfect counter, just a check right hook. It works very well in professional and amateur boxing, and Poirier uses it amazingly in all of his fights. And like Daniel Cormier said, his Louisiana brother, he's a phenomenal boxer, and he is. And I didn't think so at first, but the more I watched him, you got to respect him, and he has really good hands and really good defense in the pocket. He would back up with that defense I just talked about and then use the looping left and right hook to counter off Holloway when he tried to come in. Let's see. Use the same combo that, let's see, what was the combo that he hurt Holloway with earlier in the fight? Let's see. Oh, yeah, okay. So he would throw, this is in the second round, he would throw the straight left, and then he would switch stances to orthodox, double jab with the left hand, and throw the power overhand right. And this hurt Holloway again. Basically, this is where I was talking about the partial drop, where he landed that combo. So he'd be in the southpaw stance, double jab to get you to guard up, straight left hand down the center, move his left leg through as he threw the straight left, angle off, and counter with the right hand. Hurt him with this in the first round and the second round consistently. This was probably the best combo Poirier landed throughout the entire fight. Let's see. I already said Holloway would try to counter Poirier with the check left hook, but Poirier would counter with his own right hook over the top as Holloway tried to exit, and then would grab the clinch and right uppercut, right hook. Perfect stuff from Dustin Poirier here. Let's see. What else do we got in this one? He also did one of the things he did. Oh, no, this is what I just talked about. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought for a second. He again, like I said, right hook over the jab of Holloway. This worked perfectly because it didn't allow Holloway to angle off as much as we see him do in a lot of fights. You know, Holloway is really good at cutting angles constantly and switching stances. But like I said, I think that was part of Poirier's game plan. I'm going to switch stances on you to throw you off your game of being able to switch your stance consistently. I'm going to make you think that every time you switch, I'm going to counter you and hurt you. Let's see. If Poirier gets tired and pressured, he will throw wild punches a little bit to try to get distance and create distance from the opponent. You know, Holloway hurt Poirier in the third round. Yeah, and then that's when he backed up Poirier against the fence, and it was more due to his just cardio and pressure that Holloway puts on you, and a lot of people fold under that pressure. And he backed him up, and you saw Poirier glance over to his corner for a second, and then would cover up, and Holloway tried to pour it on. But Poirier was able to counter with a few looping overhand rights and lefts and then circle off the fence towards Holloway's weak side, which is his left side, I believe. Holloway tried to throw a flying knee to the body of Dustin Poirier, and Poirier caught the knee and went for a takedown, but Holloway hurt him with the elbow to the temple. So he shot like a double leg, put him against the fence, and Holloway just landed vicious elbows to the side of the temple of Dustin Poirier, which caused him to take a knee for a second, but then gained his composure right away. Didn't get the takedown, but it showed that Holloway was dangerous. Fourth round, Poirier resorted to his wrestling. You heard Mike Brown call out in the corner a lot to use his wrestling in this fight, but I think Poirier was confident that he'd be able to hurt Holloway in this fight, so he didn't have to resort to the wrestling as much. Like we said, phenomenal boxer and really good defensive mind that he has. Poirier did score a double leg takedown against the fence, but Holloway was able to push off the head and get back up to his feet and circle off the fence. He got better at rolling with combinations. Poirier did. And because Holloway, like I said, it's pity pat. It's just death by accumulation, constantly throwing stuff in your face into the body to get you tired, and then he'll sit down on his punches. But Poirier just got more comfortable, even in those firefights. Just rolling with the shots, countering with the straight left as you try to throw your ones and twos, rolling underneath, countering with the right hook. He loves it. And like I said, Poirier's best combination, I think, is that right uppercut, right hook, in close in the clinch and outside, on the outside. He'll double up or triple up that right hook, throw the uppercut, right hook again to angle off, throw the straight left. The jab was a big deal for Poirier, which I said earlier. Jab, straight left, right hook, money. Always. Because he's cutting the angle on him with that left hook, or with the right hook, and landing the straight left, coming back with the right hook. Really good stuff. Always the check right hook when the opponent throws his jab. One of Poirier's best counters. Look for it against Khabib for sure. Khabib likes to try to use the jab to set up the takedowns. I see Poirier being able to parry down that jab and come over with the right hook and hurt Khabib. I'm sorry. Holloway was learning about this check right hook though as the fight went on. He was learning to roll with it as Poirier would throw it and counter to the body and up the middle. He would lower his level and roll underneath the more he tried to throw that check right hook. But man, this was a great fight. Probably the best fight we've seen Poirier have in his career. Just really put it all together in this fight. Resorted to his wrestling, was able to take down Holloway, which is no easy feat, and get off a little bit of control on the ground. And he ended up winning via unanimous decision, 49-46, becoming the interim lightweight champion of the world. And now I'm really excited, guys. We got him versus Khabib at 242. When I did this breakdown, the one thing I noticed he has to avoid is if he gets pressured, he must avoid being pushed against the fence. If Khabib's able to push him against the fence even once or twice, he's going to take him down and he's going to land vicious ground and pound. Poirier's going to have to learn how to stuff the takedowns towards the center of the fence and use those good combinations, the right hook, right uppercut, right hook, straight left, right hook, left uppercut, right hook, double jab, straight left. He's going to have to learn to use that a lot and avoid the takedowns. If he tries to jump for a guillotine like he did against Eddie Alvarez, it's going to be trouble. You saw Michael Johnson do this, and he ended up getting mauled for it. I'm a little more worried for Poirier in the Khabib fight, but I do think he probably has the best chance of beating him, and I'm still going to pick Poirier to beat Khabib at 242. I just think he's one of the most well-rounded fighters Khabib has fought in his entire career, and the power difference, I think, is going to be astronomical. And I know we say, well, McGregor had a lot of power, but McGregor didn't fight to the best of his ability against Khabib. You could see there was something off. He said he broke his foot, and that's why he didn't move a lot, and I could totally see that. I'm not making excuses. Khabib beat the shit out of him, and it was a good fight. It was a war, but Khabib just out-grappled him and ended up getting that neck crank, rear naked choke. But I'm excited to see him fight Khabib. And UFC 242, I'll have my predictions up closer to the fight. It's on September 7th. But yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Dustin Poirier. I feel like we covered a lot of his takedown, his style, his tendencies, and everything like that. So yeah, guys, that's it. Tomorrow we have UFC 240, obviously. Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. Can't wait for that. But get this out to you, everybody. Like I said, put it on your Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, text messages. Tell your friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, mom, dad, anybody you can tell and anybody you can promote this to. If you know some amateur fighters or some professional MMA fighters or anything like that, promote it to them as well. I have to get this out. If you can get this to Dustin Poirier, I would love it to happen. I sent it to him, but I don't know if he'll see it. So that's it, guys. This has been the Double Trouble Breakdown on Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I'm out. Have a good night, everybody.